Welcome to the virtual cafe. I'm Dan Finn with Synergy Technical, and today we're honored to have our guest, Gary Autrey. Gary is the Senior Vice President of Information Services at the YMCA of the Triangle out of Raleigh, North Carolina. So, Gary, we're recording this in early May. Stay-at-home orders for North Carolina are still in place as of today. First and foremost, on the personal front, how are you and the family doing?
Uh, Quite well. My wife and I are empty nesters. So I'm in the upstairs, she's in the downstairs. We're both gainfully employed, and our kitchen is in our new break room. Uh, our two sons are grown and on their own. They're also essential employees, so they're fully employed, and so that's a blessing, and we like that. But like
Mm-hmm.
us, they're dealing with the fact that there's just no roaming around the world. So
Yeah,
thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
good to hear. Yeah, that's about best case scenario. So, tell us a little bit about the YMCA of the Triangle and how you guys have been able to address the challenges that COVID-19 present along with the stay-at-home orders.
Um, the Y has and will always be a community-focused enterprise, and we have three stated objectives that we lean into, and that's for youth development, for healthy living, and for social responsibility. And even though we've been severely impacted by the loss of revenue from branch closings, from loss of programming like childcare and swim lessons and sports programming, we still have our principles that we want to live into. So we've had to adjust and reconfigure and see how we can still meet the obligations that we have in our mission statement. So nationwide, they've launched a program called the Stay With Us campaign. And that's where we're asking our members to go ahead and continue giving to us through their membership, through donations, to stay with us as we continue to try to get back in our community. Locally, how that showed up is we have a child care offering. It's called Camp Hope. We're using the COVID guidelines and how we separate. We are providing affordable child care for essential personnel. We also have a program called Delivering Good, where it uses our employees and our buses, and we partner with a number of organizations, 12 here in the local area, where we attempt to deliver food and critical supplies to seniors and other underserved communities. And so far, we've served in excess of 2,600 families, and we've
Wow.
served in excess of 33 meals. Um,
Wow.
Many of our Ys are hosting blood drives, and we've got a virtual Y. So even though our YMCA facilities are closed, you can still go online and get some exercise in. I took a yoga class. Number one, nobody could see me, so I wasn't embarrassed, and it was actually pretty good. So,
Yeah.
we're still continuing to deliver to our community. We're just looking how we do it now in this new world.
Yeah, those are impressive numbers with the meals delivered. I'd caught some headlines about the childcare services for the frontline workers and thought that was great, but I had no idea all the other services were still ongoing. That's pretty impressive. So,
Yeah.
how have on the internal side, how have your employees adjusted to the work from home? We're about 6, 7 weeks into that situation now. What's working well and what may not be working so well?
Um, it, it's kind of weird. We all have to adjust under the new circumstances, but oddly, there's a sense of momentum, energy, I guess you could say, as we try to figure out how you deal with the situation, and then how do you prepare for the post-COVID environment. This is for the people that are still employed. We have some furloughed employees, which I'm sure they have a different story and a different thought. But as far as the ones that are still with us um, currently, then there's a sense of momentum going that we're trying to figure out these things. So it hasn't been horrible. What's worked well is that the remote capabilities now, it helps us stay focused. It helps
Mm-hmm.
us have increased efficiency. What to me it is not working well is that we as an association, we miss being together. We're a very relationship driven organization. That's both with our coworkers and with the ones we serve, our program participants and our members. So that's probably the toughest part that we
Mm-hmm.
have to deal with, just not being with each other.
Yeah, for an organization so prevalent in the community, if I remember correctly, it's 30 something locations you have throughout the triangle.
We have 22.
There you go. So shooting high, but yeah, while being so prevalent in the community, it's tough when everyone's required to social distance to keep morale up, so to speak, right? So If you had if you had the way back machine and had a crystal ball and could have planned for this a year ago, what would you and the YMCA have done to possibly prepare for type of situation?
Well, we've been living in Office 360 for a while now. Well, one of the steps we were doing was multi-factor authentication, and I wish we had, if I'd known, pushed that 6 months earlier, and then we'd be fully enveloped in it. A little more difficult rolling out multi-factor authentication to 300 or 400 people, knowing that there's not a facility that you can go work with them to get it legit. It's all one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat. So I wish we'd done multi-authentication. Of course, anybody's going to say, I wish security was better. So that's the one thing I wish we could push the clock back on.
Yeah, the end user adoption is probably a little more complicated when everyone's working from home and you can't get that hands-on installing an app on the phone if you're doing the authenticator or working through the text message and the user interface for MFA specifically, right?
And don't forget about if one guy knows it and the guy next to him in the cubicle has a question, there's a learning process where they can all learn together versus, now it's just one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat set up right.
Great point. Yeah, it puts a lot on your team to support all those workers. So let me ask then too, is there any particular technology that doesn't have to be Microsoft specific, but thanks for repping the Synergy Technical logo as well. Is there any particular technology that's really helped your organization continue to be productive and work together in this time?
Teams have become a primary means of communicating with us and a primary way of us meeting. We use Teams for everything. We when we have new initiatives, we spin up a team. We use it for scheduling. We use it for data collection, and the video conferencing and Teams has just become our new way of meeting. I am more likely to get a chat on Teams or a video call than I will get an email or I will get a cell phone call. It's just a product that has helped us center our efforts and come together, and the adoption rate has just been very easy and very phenomenal. I have one on the point, and I'll make it in a minute. So,
and you guys had Teams rolled out prior to the work from home situation, right? It wasn't a deployment that you forced once stay-at-home orders came in. There had been adoption across the workforce prior to March.
And one of the interesting things is that there was, as in any organization, there's always hesitancy for change. And so 2 years of pushing, starting with OneDrive, starting with Office.com, pushing all that, there's always some pushback. We want to do it like we always done it. And one of the comments I got recently was from a guy that said, I appreciate all you've done. And the best analogy I had was the old joke, when did Noah start building the ark? And that was before it started raining. You guys were building this way before the pandemic. And he goes, now it's really showing that the effort, and that's not just my team's
Very
effort,
nice.
but the product that is there really meets all what we need, especially in times like this.
Yeah, that's a great compliment. Congrats on that. To hear that from the internal resources. And I know Teams has even pushed some features to roll out even quicker based on demand from work from home. The ability to see more than 4 on the same screen at once should be coming any day now as I check my watch. But what have you guys done?
That's the one thing. That's the one thing that keeps us from kicking Zoom to the curb. Is that multi-screen. So.
Yeah, it's coming. We're going to call it the Brady Bunch view. We've already been calling it that internally, the 3x3. So hopefully that eases a lot of complaints that they're hearing. So, a couple more questions for you, Gary. What are you guys doing, whether it's internal, daily calls or fun things that you're doing for your employees? What are you guys doing around employee morale to make sure everyone does stay upbeat?
Well, first off, I'm in IT, so there is no fun. So we just take that off the bat. But
no, sir.
Yeah, but what I figured out, what I've gleaned from all this, and if you listen to the news and you listen to the talking heads and you listen to people you work with, one of the benefits from remote working is less distractions, right? You're more efficient with your work, and you're actually working longer hours because that day-to-day interaction with people, that distraction is removed. But that's the one thing that I think is the drawback. That's not a distraction, it's interaction. And as humans, we crave that. We crave So when you go to the break room, you don't just grab your coffee. You sit there for 3 or 4 minutes to talk to somebody. Somebody may come to your office, interrupt your train of thought, but you find that distracting now. But now that it's all taken away, you realize that's what we want. So when we first started this, before this all started, in my department, we had once a week meeting on Tuesdays, and we called it Terrific Tuesday, and that was definitely tongue in cheek because nobody liked it, but it was a necessary meeting, every Tuesday from 9:30 to 11, sometimes 12, and it wasn't the most highly anticipated meeting, but it had to be done because that's how you communicate.
Mm-hmm.
In this post world with no distractions and everybody working from home, we have scheduled a morning meeting every Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock, and those meetings last anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we insist on video cameras being on, and we are finding that all of us actually enjoy that time because it's a time for us to interact again. So when you ask about employee morale, I feel that the video conferencing, being able to see each other, not just talk about business, but to talk about how you're coping, how you doing. Let's share some funnies. Let's just act like we're humans again, right? And then that has been bigger employee morale builder to me than any jokes or ice creams or anything that we could send their way.
Right. Yeah, video on has been huge for us internally too, and I think we've gotten to know our coworkers even to a deeper level just seeing some of their backgrounds, seeing a guitar or a football helmet, or we had a call with your team this morning and there was fabrics all over the wall from the guy's wife's business, right? So you get to learn a lot about people and what are their interests and their hobbies and what motivates them, right? And what they like to do after 5 o'clock, which is just as important.
Yes, exactly.
I really appreciate you joining, Gary. The YMCA has been doing awesome things locally in the Triangle community as well as nationwide. Is there anything we can leave as a call to action for everyone viewing this video nationwide for any help your organization needs, either on an individual person volunteering or is it financial? How can people help the YMCA?
The Y can always take. We're a volunteer-driven organization. So if you have time and resources to volunteer, we may not be able to use that right now because there's just not that much going on, but we are always looking for volunteers for anything from counseling to school programs, soccer programs or basketball coaches, all kinds of things you can do. But currently, revenue is always a great thing. We have a site that you can go to and donate directly to us, and all those funds are just to keep us going and running. Just like any other business out there, we are struggling because we need the money to come in. So if you find it in your heart to help us keep investing in the community, I would encourage you to go there and donate.
That's great. I appreciate that. And if you send the link over, we'll make sure to embed it in this video. And we'll have a donation coming over in Synergy Technical's name as well to follow up from this. So thanks for joining. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the virtual cafe. And have a good day, everyone.
All right. Dan, I appreciate it.
You bet.